Hi, I'm Donna Vio from The Masquerade, and today's helpful tip is how to bury your threads inside your quilt. So I don't always bury my threads, and a lot of people don't want to bury their threads, and I totally understand that. I take a couple back tacks and then I just chop them off if I'm not going to enter a quilt into a show. But when I do that, it's noticeable, and I'll show you on this quilt. So perhaps you can see the start and stop right here. It's very noticeable. Close up, not as noticeable far away. But if you want to avoid that, then I'm going to show you how to do it. So all you need is a needle and some scissors. That's it. But I like to use the Quilter's self-threading needles. These are by Fons and Porter. I'm sure they're made by other people too. And the self-threading needle has a little slice at the top of the needle where you can easily just slip your threads in without having to actually thread the eye of the needle. So I'll show you what one of those looks like close up. That's what the eye looks like. There's actually two holes. A lower one that you can thread the thread through, and then the upper one has a slice at the top of it if you want to use it like a self-threading needle. So here's an example of how I buried the threads at the end. Came to a stop, buried them in, nice clean look. No one's going to notice that in a quilt. So let me show you the process. Okay, and at the end, I'm not going to do a back tack. I'm going to bring my needle up. I'm going to pull my threads. I'm going to go away from the foot to give my bobbin thread a chance to lengthen down there, and then I'm going to just take one stitch. And that way now I can pull up my bobbin thread pretty easily. And I'm going to cut them so that I have a few inches to work with. Now this bobbin thread, the side that I'm going to cut is the side that pulls freely. One side is attached very firmly to the quilt and the other side pulls freely. So that's the side I'm going to cut. And just pull it away again so my little tail disappears. So now I have the two pieces. So I like to just make sure they're together. I use two fingers. I lay the two pieces over my fingers, and then I grab them and twist. And then I put the tail between my two fingers and I pull it through. And that gives me this loop here. And then I just take my needle, put it in the loop, and I cinch up the loop. And as I move the knot down, and I want to just be, maybe a 1/4 of an inch away from the fabric, so it's a small amount of space there. Once I've got the knot in there, I like to lift up my fabric, and I like to follow where the row is going, where the stitching line is going, and put my needle in about a stitch length away from where I was when I ended. And then I have my hand underneath the quilt so I can make sure that I'm not putting my needle through the back side of the quilt. I want to run it along in between the layers inside the batting. And then using this self-threading needle, I just put both threads in the end of the needle at the same time. And I make sure that I have a nice loop so that I can make it all the way through when I pull it. And I pop out the other side. I'm just going to pull these threads all the way through. And now I'm going to get in close and show you what happens to that little knot. So you can see I have this little knot here, and when I pull it, pull the two threads, it pops right in to the quilt. And now it's just an end without any back tacking. So at that point, you're just going to trim this thread right to the fabric. Hear that? It popped right into the fabric. So here's another one. Let's see if you can hear it this time when I pop it through. Did you hear that? It's a tiny little pop, and you know that it's in place at that point. And that's it.